Have you ever tried building something awesome without accurate measurements? Chaos, frustration, total disaster. In the world of making things, precision is king. Whether you're machining metal, crafting furniture, or fixing engines, accurate measurements are non-negotiable. That's where our trusty trio of tools comes in: the depth micrometer, the bore gauge, and the telescopic gauge. Diving deep, the depth micrometer. The depth micrometer, your go-to for measuring depths of holes, slots, and steps. It's like a regular micrometer but with a clever twist, a base that sits flat on your workpiece. A movable rod then extends to reach the bottom of whatever you're measuring. Calibration is key. A miscalibrated tool is as useful as a chocolate fire engine. First, start with a clean slate. Wipe down your depth micrometer and make sure it's free of debris. Next, zero in. Set the micrometer to 0 using a gauge block or a known flat surface. Finally, double-check. Use another gauge block of a known dimension to confirm accuracy. Putting the depth micrometer to work. Time for action. To measure with a depth micrometer, place the base on your workpiece, ensuring it's flat and stable. Carefully extend the rod until it touches the bottom of the feature you're measuring. Lock the spindle to secure the measurement. Finally, read the measurement on the thimble and sleeve. Common depth micrometer mishaps. Watch out for these common pitfalls: not zeroing your micrometer, applying too much force when extending the rod, and reading the measurement incorrectly. Section 3. Sizing up the inside the bore gauge. Inside the bore gauge. Need to measure the inside diameter of a hole or cylinder? The bore gauge is your new best friend. This ingenious tool uses a spring-loaded split ball system that expands inside your workpiece. Calibrating your bore gauge. Calibration is crucial for accurate bore measurements. First, choose the correct setting ring for the approximate diameter you'll be measuring. Next, zero the bore gauge using a micrometer or a setting ring of the exact desired size. Finally, gently insert the bore gauge into the hole, ensuring it's perpendicular to the surface. Putting the bore gauge to work. Measuring with a bore gauge. Insert the bore gauge into the hole, ensuring the split ball system is centered. Slowly rotate the bore gauge to find the maximum reading. Lock the gauge in this position. Remove the bore gauge and read the measurement on the indicator dial. Bore gauge blunders to bypass. Avoid these common bore gauge boo-boos. Using the wrong setting ring. Forcing the bore gauge into the hole, not rotating the gauge to find the maximum reading. Section 4. Reaching in the telescopic gauge. Unpacking the telescopic gauge. Ever need to measure something in a tight spot? Enter the telescopic gauge, a lifesaver for hard-to-reach dimensions. This tool features spring-loaded plungers that expand inside a feature, allowing you to transfer the measurement to a caliper or micrometer. Calibrating your telescopic gauge. Calibration is essential for accurate telescopic gauge measurements. First, choose the correct size range for your gauge. Next, retract the plungers and lock them in place. Finally, use a micrometer to set the desired measurement on the telescopic gauge. Putting the telescopic gauge to work. Ready to tackle those tricky measurements? Start by compressing the plungers and inserting the gauge into the feature. Allow the plungers to expand, ensuring they contact the sides of the feature. Then, lock the telescopic gauge in this position. Carefully remove the gauge and measure the distance between the plungers using a caliper or micrometer. Telescopic gauge traps to avoid. Steer clear of these common telescopic gauge errors, forcing the plungers to expand beyond their limit, not ensuring the plungers are parallel to the sides of the feature, and misreading the measurement on the caliper or micrometer. Section 5. Conclusion: precision in your hands. Mastering the depth micrometer, bore gauge, and telescopic gauge unlocks a world of precise measurement possibilities. Remember, accurate measurements are the foundation of successful projects. Take the time to understand these tools, calibrate them meticulously, and use them with care. With practice and attention to detail, you'll be amazed at the level of precision you can achieve.